Here we are in Troskowitz and we are about to ask the scribe about Brunswick items.
You have a kind master, eh?
Good day.
Greetings, lad. What brings you here?
I need to ask you about something. I found some peculiar armor. It looks like it belonged to some Brunswick, so I thought that maybe the scribe might know who that is.
Brunswick's? Are you sure?
Absolutely. If it were some ordinary armor, nobody would have hidden it all over the countryside.
But that's not possible. Could it have been more than a legend?
What legend?
It's hard to explain. There are actually 2 legends, or even 3. Well, it doesn't really matter. In short, they say the armor of ancient Bohemian Prince Brunswick is hidden here, waiting for some valiant knight to find it. Of course, I never really believed it, but it looks like this time the children's fairy tale is true.
Who exactly was this Brunswick?
You don't know, lad? Educate yourself. Brunswick was a famous Czech prince who won the lion for our country's coat of arms.
Really? How is it that I've never heard of him?
Perhaps because he never existed. Prince Vladislav II got the lion for our coat of arms for helping Emperor Frederick I, known as Redbeard.
But you just said that...
Brunswick is just a legend, but a quite lovely one, I'll give you that.
Could you recount for me the legend of Brunswick?
Well, why not? Brunswick was a valiant Bohemian prince. He lived in a time when our country had an eagle on its coat of arms, but that wasn't good enough for him. So he decided to head out into the world and gain the mark of a more powerful animal.
A man after my own heart.
You may think so, but his wife was none too happy. Her name was Ludmilla, and she begged Brunswick 100 times to stay home, but he just couldn't be persuaded. Still, he loved her very much, so he took her ring and told her that unless someone came and showed her that ring during the next 7 years, she should wait for his return. But if he failed to return after 7 years, that would mean he would never return.
Then what happened next?
Brunswick's party set out to sea, but didn't get far. They were drawn in by an island with a mysterious mountain of amber that holds all ships and prevents them from leaving. Over time, the men on the deserted island died of starvation, leaving only Brunswick, who noticed that once a year a great bird called No came to the island to hunt. And so the clever knight hid in his horse's hide at just the right time. And when the bird came, it mistook him for prey and carried him away. So Brunswick wandered on. After some time on the road, the prince came across something unprecedented. A duel between a lion and a 9-headed dragon. So, what do you think Brunswick did at that moment?
Well, considering what he later added to the coat of arms, I expect he helped the lion, eh?
Smart. Brunswick rushed to help the lion, and together they killed the dragon. And from that time on, they were stalwart companions. The lion even followed him all the way back to Bohemia. Except, by then, it was already too late. It had already been exactly 7 years to the day since Brunswick set off on his journey. His wife, Ludmilla, who had until that time valiantly resisted all suitors, was about to remarry. But at the wedding feast, Brunswick managed to drop the ring in her cup. So it all turned out well. For Brunswick, that is. Not so for Ludmilla's new groom, but the lion took care of that.
Where did Brunswick's armor come from?
It is said that George the Lion of Württemberg brought it here. He was the nephew of Lord Chenyek of Württemberg, who built Trusky. This George spent a lot of time with King Wenceslas. A suspiciously long amount of time, if you know what I mean.
I think I get the picture.
And it is said that one day a lion escaped from the king's menagerie, and George overpowered it with his bare hands and laid it at the king's feet, still alive. As a reward, Wenceslas gave young Wartenberg the name Lion and the armour of his ancestor, Prince Brunswick. Only Sir George didn't live to enjoy it for long. He caught the plague at a tournament abroad, and died on his way back to his king. Specifically, while visiting his uncle here at Trusky. Of course, the king wanted his armour back, but Lord Chenyek didn't want to give it to him, claiming he had the hereditary right to it. It looked like Wenceslas would lay siege to Trusky, but fortunately Lord Chenyek was completely destitute by then, so he sold all of Trusky and the armour to the king.
Chenyek was broke. How come?
Because of building his castle. Trusky may be impressive, but it's too expensive for a nobleman. Even the king had difficulty paying for such a castle.
Well, if the king was so endeared with Brunswick's armour, why did he leave it here?
Because he didn't have any choice, my friend. He never found the armour. Lord Chenyek was as cunning as a fox. While he did leave the armour here, he never told anyone where. It's said he hid it so it could only be found by a true knight, each piece in a different place. Or so they say round these parts. Who knows if there's any truth to the tale?
Well, thank you, Gable. That's all I need to know. Take care.
You too, lad, and keep an eye on that armour. You know what they say, easy come, easy go. And you know what? I've got something else for you. Sir George, who previously owned the armour, wanted to have a nice poleaxe made in Prague too, but he died of the plague before he could do it. Here's a copy of his order and sketch as a keepsake.
And that's how you get Brunswick Poleaxe.